Welcome to the Whiskey Vault. I'm Danny Winnington, Chancellor of Wizard Academy, Whiskey Marketing School. I keep misjudging my steps walking up to this thing, and it reminds me of when I was a kid and I was trying to practice being like a field goal kicker, and I could never get my pacing of my steps to time up right with the swing of the foot with the football. And that flashback happens to me every time I walk up to this barrel and I have to like take one longer step to sit down naturally. Today we're going to talk about some sales tips that we teach here at Wizard Academy. Very short, simple little things to remember, not an overall big scheme. And I will tell you, fundamentally, there is a culture of sales and an industry of sales that has been sort of taught for decades in all sales industry. And that is this idea of overcoming objections, which is essentially a sales manipulation tactic where you verbally corner people into the decision you want them to make. And so they have no way out except to do the thing you want them to do. That is bullshit. And those people. Now, it's bullshit for so many reasons, I'm not even going to go into them right now. That is not what I'm talking about. On the other hand, I do believe that psychology matters, and I think that even if your goal is to serve the customer that you're talking to, it still helps to sort of get them into the framework of a discussion so that they understand what they're deciding and they're making a more honest choice and given very real value statements, right? So there's two things that I use. One of these things is when someone asks, this is part one, when someone asks a money question, the answer should first be money and then everything else. And what I mean by that is you should eliminate from your vocabulary when it comes to these kinds of situations, two words: it depends. Those should be eliminated from your vocabulary. If you say, how much does this car cost? And the salesperson walks up and goes, well, it depends. What is your first immediate emotional response to that? Basically a sigh, like an emotional, all right, here we go, give me the pitch. That's exactly what's happening next, right? And you want, if at all possible, to prevent this person that you're talking to from lapsing into the psychological category of this is a combative relationship where you're going to try to pitch to me and I'm going to try to decide whether or not you're screwing with me or not. And that's not the mindset that you want to have in a relationship when you're trying to serve a consumer. You want them to feel like you're being honest with them. You want to be honest with them. You want them to feel kind of safe about the entire conversation. And when you say, well, it depends, one, immediately the person's prepping themselves for a, oh God, all right, tell me why. And second, it feels a little bit condescending. Like, well, you don't even know what you're asking. Let me teach you. It depends. You're like, well, I know it depends. Like, I don't go looking at a car and assuming that there's not variations. Like, I'm not an idiot, right? So let me give an example of that. If someone says, well, how much does it cost to go to the whiskey marketing school? And then my answer is, well, it depends. That's technically true because there's two costs for our program, right? And it depends which one you are. But that violates two things. One, I used the words, it depends, which you should never do. And two, I didn't answer your money question with a number of money. You always answer a money question with money. So what do you do when it actually does depend? If I asked Mike, what does it cost for me to use your video services for the day? He's on the other side of this camera. And his answer is, well, it depends. My first thought is going to be, well, of course it depends. Like, I know that you've got rates and I know that it depends on what I'm asking you to do. What am I actually, if you are treating me honestly and giving the benefit of the doubt, then you should understand that what I'm actually asking is, can I afford you? Can I budget for you? Do I have the amount of money, or am I willing to spend the amount of money that it would take to buy this thing or hire you and your services, right? And so the first thing out of your mouth should be a number. Well, how do you give a number when it depends? The answer is you start out with the most expensive you've ever been. And then without breathing and without another breath, you immediately follow it with the least expensive you've ever been. This is just a small tip. I use it all the time. It helps so much. So if someone asked, what does it take to go to whiskey marketing school? I would say, well, it's $4,000 if you just show up on the website, click buy, and sign up. However, we have a discount that takes it down to $2,000 if you're an alumni. And there are about 3 or 4 different ways that you can become an alumnus of Wizard Academy. Now, do you see what I did there? I just gave you the bookends. And you're immediately thinking, okay, $4,000, that's kind of high. $2,000, that's not so bad. And there's ways to get that $2,000. I'd be interested to know what that is, right? Now, do you feel like I'm being honest? Absolutely. I've just given you the transparent top and bottom. If this was Mike, he could say, well, $15,000 is the most I've ever made in a single day of shooting. And the least I've ever charged was $200. The $15,000 was because I was working on and we did. The $200 was because I showed up with one handheld camera. I took a couple of still shots of something for a client, and then I went back home, doctored it up on Photoshop, and sent it to him. My guess is you're probably going to do something somewhere in between those things. Now, immediately, my brain's going to go, if I'm of a certain size company, I'm going to think, damn, $15,000 is my max? All right, I feel like we can talk. Or if I'm a general consumer who was just like kind of a friend of his, I was like, whoa, $15,000, Mike's legit. I don't know if I can afford Mike, right? That's a real conversation. And immediately you are letting them decide whether or not they belong inside your price spectrum. Does that make sense? It's honest, it's fair, it's non-manipulative, but it does balance the conversation to keep them from keep it from feeling antagonistic or tricky, right? Now, let's drink this, and then we're going to talk about the second thing. This is interesting. This is Roseisle. Roseisle is a Speyside distillery owned by Diageo that is massive. As a matter of fact, it is so massive that they produce around 10 million liters a year of malt. 14 stills. 14 stills. This is a massive Diageo commercial production distillery creating malt for all of Diageo-owned blends, right? Now, they've not really released a single malt because, when did they open? Like 2010, I think? So they're only 15 years old now. But this year / last year, for the first time, they decided to release a single malt to the general public. They called it a special release, 2020, I don't know, maybe it was 2023 was the first one. Anyway, recently. And it's $120 for a 12-year-old Scotch. I mean, ow. But because Emma works for Diageo now, we get the opportunity to try some Diageo products that I wouldn't shell out $120 for. And I really wanted to hate this. I really wanted to be like, whatever, it's fine. It's not $120, fine. And just be like, And then we bought it, and then I smelled it, and then I tried it, and son of a bitch, if it's not a great malt. Of course it is, because quality and all of that. Now, is it a $120 bottle malt? No. Would I spend $60, $70 for it? Absolutely. I would be fine with that because it's a little harder to get. It's not normally released to the public, not because of volume that they make, but because of volume that goes out into a single malt. But it is a great malt. Just a beautiful malt. Lots of bourbon cask, ex-bourbon and refill casks. So on the nose is this just almost garden flower fruit. Like you're eating fresh fruit in a garden house or in a greenhouse. It is light apricots. It is honeysuckle flowers. It is almost rose petal. It is deep vanilla floating across a sort of like slight dryness and a little bit of a malt funk. There's an almost caramel vanilla thread layered through it that creeps in on a like milk chocolate direction, but never quite gets there. But it's mostly light vanilla, floral, and fruit, and it's just beautiful. And this is, by the way, they released it at a cask strength, so it's 50, this one's 56.8. And I think this is the second release they did. And man, dense perfume fruit, perfume floral, oily and kind of clingy. It's just a freaking great single malt. I wish it wasn't 120, and I am hoping to God that they start lowering the prices. Now, with the bullshit tariffs going on right now, who knows, they could lower the prices to 70 and it still shows up in America for like $600. But regardless, it's a great malt. And I have not truly tried it with water added, so I'm going to, because I just love it at this 56%. But I'm gonna add a little handful of drops to it. We're gonna let it sit for a second. All right, let's talk about the other small sales technique. And that is, you have been taught in manipulation to always list benefits, then price. That's wrong, don't do that. Not if you're being honest. If your goal is to be honest and to be upfront and sort of just like, get that out of the way and then let them know why it's valuable, the end effect of that is to make all of your benefits seem way more valuable. So, for example, if you say, how much does it cost to go to whiskey school? And I start with this sentence. Well, first, let me tell you what you get at whiskey school. You get a room on campus for 3 nights. That's a private room with your own bathroom and in our student-appointed lodging with a courtyard in the Valley of Am. You get all of your meals from breakfast to dinner and brought in, and lunch and dinner are catered from our favorite. Now, as I'm saying all these things, your brain is doing what? It's racking up the price. Oh, that sounds expensive. Oh, geez, that sounds expensive, right? By the time I'm done listing the benefits, no matter what number I say, it's going to feel expensive, because I just listed all these things that should be expensive. So it doesn't matter what number I say next, unless it's astronomical low. But if I say it's $2,000, you're gonna be like, wow, $2,000, that's expensive. And then you're gonna start trying to find ways to be like, what if I don't stay on campus? Can I get a discount? What if I bring my own meals, sack lunch? Either way, no matter if you lead with all those features and then name drop a price, it doesn't matter if I say, all that for the low price of, it's still gonna feel expensive. Psychologically, what you need to do is name the price, bam, rip that Band-Aid off, right? And then follow it with benefits. Because as you list, every benefit you list makes that price feel more and more reasonable, right? So you say, how much does it cost to go to whiskey school? I say it's $4,000, unless you're an alum, in which case it's $2,000. And there are 3 or 4 ways that you could become an alumnus of Wizard Academy in order to get that $2,000 pricing. Now, for the class, you stay on campus for 3 nights. So you check in the day before, you check out the day after. You have a private room on campus, own bathroom and everything. We're gonna cater in our favorite restaurants for lunch and dinner for the 2 days of class. You're gonna have breakfast, full breakfast spread at Engelbrecht House with the other students. We're gonna try 36 whiskeys during those 2 days. We're gonna have 5 different instructors teach you of varying levels of things in the tower at Wizard Academy in Austin, Texas. We're gonna provide you all the snacks and all the glassware and all the coffee and anything that you could need to function for those 2 days. And at the end of class, when you graduate, you're gonna get your medallion that's made out of bronze and you're gonna get access to the whiskey vault and the code and free reign to hang out for the night inside the whiskey vault. Now, as I list all of those things, if you know anything about how much it costs, your brain just went, $2,000 is attainable, because they just hinted that it was attainable. 3 nights at a nice hotel, that's already $600. Meals for 2 days, I mean, that's easily another $500 if it's gonna be the kind of restaurants that he's talking. I mean, already we're crawling in on $1,000 and we haven't even paid for the 36 whiskeys that I'm gonna get to try and access to you see what I mean? Your brain starts doing that math. So there's your tips. Always answer a price question with a price, always list high then low, and then always price then benefits, not the other way around. Now, with a little water and settlement on this thing, oh, it gets way more perfume floral. The fruit settles a bit. vanilla perfume. Oh, it is good. It's a little sweeter with water. The vanillin's kind of pushed forward a little, and it is more floral and a little more, the oil is a little bit more clingy, weirdly. I like it better without water, but it's good with water too. It's just a great single malt. Cheers to you, and I'm really glad you're here. Should you like and subscribe to the Whiskey Vault channel? It depends. Do you like quality content? Are you a good person?